Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
I'm great. It's a nice day to be alive, and I'm enjoying being here, looking at your place. Love it. Very cool.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. I'm here today with my really good friend, Chris, who owns a business, and he is an absolutely a philanthropist slash motivator slash therapist. And I had the pleasure of working with you at 180 Therapies in Monroe. I've had a back surgery where you kind of helped stretch me and get me back into functionality. And I would say you're a functionalist and very wealth of knowledge. And I'd like to explore that today about, where you came from, who you are, how did you get to where you are today? And your company changed during you and I doing business together. We became friends. And now you have, your company name is what?
Veridical Therapies.
Veridical.
Yeah.
I gotcha. And you now have your second location.
That's right. Thanks, Mike.
So thank me, whatever. So let's go back in time and take you back. How old are you now?
42.
42. When did you get into therapy?
I think I was 28 years old. I had been working construction up until that point. Fire water damage restoration is where I started. It's where I met my wife. Fire water damage restoration. We had a couple kids and turned into 3. Went to school for massage therapy during 2008. So I think it was right around their time.
2008. What generated the thought process to say, hey, I want to go touch people for a living?
No, man, it wasn't like that at all.
What was it?
Oh my God. It's weird. Okay, so I was doing this remodel for this lady named Michelle, and I was putting up sheetrock and sand in the walls and whatnot. And she came up to me, and I don't even know why she came up to me. So she's like, you know what, Chris? You'd be really good at massage therapy. I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that ever. So I get home that night, and I do believe in divine intervention in some way, shape, or form. And so what ended up happening was I looked at my email, and there was this flyer that came through my email that night that said, come and check out our massage therapy program. And I was like, well, that's weird. Maybe I should go and look at it. And this was actually right down the street here off of 77 Center Drive in Tybola. So I came down. The lady that was the admissions coordinator, her name was Betty Wright. And interestingly enough, which is a little sidebar, she's about 5'2", blonde hair lady, I guess probably about 55, 57 at the time. Looked just like my grandma. By the time we were done with the admissions piece of this, we were hugging, and they had the same personality. She reminded me of my grandma. I was crazy. So she had me take the little aptitude test and whatnot, which is just a quick sales method, right? To get you in, sign up for school. I signed up for school, and then that's the story of how I got into that piece of it.
What does school cost? What's a cost?
Then it cost about $6,500 to $7,000. Now at that same school, which is relocated, I can't remember the name of the road, it's a couple exits down from here. That school is now $20,000 a year plus.
20 grand.
Yeah.
For a massage therapy license.
That's right. At the time, it was a neuromuscular licensure is the one that I attained. They don't really call it that anymore for that school.
Got it.
It was sold by a gentleman named Kyle Wright. He's the one that founded that school. Super nice guy, good friend of mine.
What's the time process?
At that time, I believe it was 8 months. It was 8 or 9 months.
So it's a little less than a year.
Yeah, it's 500 credit hours is what you need. And you have to do a lot of practical hands-on time. They were called Blue Books. I don't think they're still called that.
Got it.
But now the state of North Carolina is upping that, and there's some economical reasons why they do it. And it has to do with state funding to Pell Grants and stuff like that for students. You have to have a certain amount of hours to meet that state requirement to get the funding. I don't know if that made sense.
So when you get out of school, is there employers saying, welcome, please, we're ready for you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There is a huge need for massage therapists in Charlotte, and always has been. And those big chains would be like Hand and Stone, Massage Heights, Massage Envy, and they are constantly looking. Most of those stores can handle up to 30 to 35 therapists at a time. So, yeah.
Garrett, question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever get massages? Or?
I do. I actually have a bad back. I actually had back surgery in 2008, right after I got my permit as a car guy. That is the worst thing. You get your permit, you need to start, that timing, and I was laid up because I could, and I just wanted to drive so bad.
What was wrong with your back?
Doctors thought I had cancer wrapped around my spine, and it turned out to just be a really bad, like I couldn't, to the point where I was in so much pain I couldn't sit for an extended period of time.
I know that feeling.
And I, rather than, you know, being 16 or 15 and a half, rather than be smart and do physical therapy, I was like, no.
Right.
And I played golf. I was on the high school golf team, and now I have scar tissue that goes up the whole right side of my back. So it all seizes up depending upon what I do.
Do you still get therapy today?
No, I actually get massages, and it just kind of depends. Now, apparently, I'm going to go to Veridical. Shameless plug for you.
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks. I dig it.
Here's the thing. Chris is more than a massage therapist. Chris is a wealth of knowledge. He understands the body. I look at it as a scientist, because when I went to Chris, it wasn't just like, hey, lay down, I'll make you feel better. He's like, how do we fix?
There are different kinds of shops for that.
I like those shops too. Those are usually overseas.
You do have that kind of viewership.
I do love overseas. That's all I'm going to say. And the Asian women are beautiful. They're very.
Chris's hands were soft when we shaked them, by the way.
Listen, it's 15 years of like immersion in lotion.
Garrett, I will tell you this: the Asians are very good with their feet. That's all I'm going to say. But Chris is a scientist of the body. And when he started naming names of the body parts and different tendons and different muscle groups, and this over here was affecting this, and I feel like you're almost a doctor. I mean, I'm not saying that you are, but I'm saying I feel that you have a doctorist mentality. Like, you do a lot of studying, you do a lot of research. This is not just all of a sudden, come put your towel on, let me get some lotion, let me rub you down, hey, you feel better? Okay, great. You've taken it to about 3 or 4 steps beyond that. You personally, I know you do have services at your place that do your, regular massaging, you do stretching, you do therapy. And when you started your 180 therapies, where I went when it was there, you had a gym in the front where you had a little stretch area, you had a Bosie balls, you had weight equipment, and you were doing assessments on people to try to figure out structurally how to get your body to function better. You're a functionologist. Can you explain to me where you went from massage therapy school to all of a sudden going, all right, I'm going to take more of a different approach to this and go into like maybe the sports side of it? Because I kind of feel like you've almost taken it to a little bit of the sports therapy. Could you explain that to me?
Sure. Basically what it was is you could go anywhere and get a massage. There's probably 10 places around here. And the idea actually comes from the book Blue Ocean Strategy. And what it is to create a market space that doesn't exist for you to compete against. So I said to myself, what if I actually help people in a way and explain to them what's actually going on with their body? Not just say, hey, that muscle feels tight, let me work that out. Because that's actually the furthest thing from the truth. When people tell you that, they actually don't understand what's going on in the body. Like, you have things like muscular densification that cause entrapment of the nerve, so the nerve can't glide through what's the different tissues in the sheaths, right? Like, there's things that encase these nerves, and when they get pulled on, they hurt. So anyway, what ended up happening was I got my licensure in neuromuscular massage therapy. I went to Massage Heights, was the first place that I worked here locally. Great place to work. I worked on tons of people. And that's really what it came down to, was getting the bodies behind the hands to make sure that I had an adequate amount of service hours to develop the skill. So the problem with it is they are a spa. Most of these big chains are spas. That's what they do. And I get it. Like, it's a really great model. It makes great money, but I wanted to make and impact people like you. So you said sports. I did start out with more sports. I like the sports aspect of it, but what I actually like is chronic pain patients. People like the issue, I don't know if you spoke about it on the other shows, the stuff that you deal with, but like the stuff with your hip, it fascinates me because no one's really talking about it in a holistic way. I mean, I'm sure there are places, small places with like practitioners like me that might get into it, but that's what I want to build on a large scale. So I went to Dallas for about a year and a half and pursued what's called at the time an orthokinetics licensure. That orthokinetics licensure helped me with my assessment skills, joint bias analysis, and then functional movements to help restore symmetry to your body. It was a really good program, and it was developed by a guy named Everett Alberg, and just a really cool guy. So that's how that progressed. I think I answered the question.
Yeah, so I'm going to replay a night that we were together with Garrett and his mother at Audrey's house, and she had some issues. Your mom did, and your mom explained to me in LA that she hired a walking coach,
Specialist.
a walking specialist.
Yep.
And I have said for years, I want someone to teach me how to walk.
Isn't that nuts?
I want a specialist to teach me how to walk.
So this is actually a really great point. And for me, when I talk to people, I like being prompted questions like this. And maybe there wasn't a question, but I'm going to tell you. In the gait cycle, your walking cycle.
The gait cycle.
The gait, G-A-I-T, the gait cycle. So the gait cycle is a series of movements, and we break them down into 4. It can go bigger. It can go up to 10 or 12, but for the sake of argument here, we'll go 4. So you have what's called the propulsion phase. It's when you toe off. Then you have the swing phase, acceleration and deceleration. And during that time, it sounds very simple with those 4 things, right? Propulsion, swing, acceleration, swing, deceleration. There's also what's called pronation, where your leg turns in, and supination. You know, when you go to like a foot or a shoe store and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna watch your pronation and supination." They don't say that. I think they say like internal and external rotation at the shoe stores, but like it's called pronation and supination. The supination is when it turns up. But when that happens and your foot strikes, then your knee turns, your tibia fibula turn, your knee turns, your hip turns, which spirals all the way up your back. That is connected through what's called the deep longitudinal subsystem, and that goes from about the lateral malleolus, which is the side of your ankle, all the way up to the other side of your spine. That's why you rotate when you walk. Being able to break that down and understand the nervous system as it innervates and comes out of the spine is really important. So that's what I look at. So for her, if she's in you, like if you want someone to teach you to walk with that, yeah, it's a full-time job. It's not easy to reprogram.
It's very difficult.
And actually, walking is one of the worst ways that you can rehabilitate yourself. The best way that you can rehabilitate yourself, if you truly have an issue with your hip, your knee, your foot, is actually to load it into some sort of integrated lunge and hold that position for a long time so that your brain, that neuroplasticity, can reconnect back from here to that ankle.
So you basically got to take a computer program of your brain and start typing and saying, okay, we're going to do a lunge, and we're going to sit in this lunge for a minute, come back, go in a minute again, lunge, come back, and just hold.
You know when have you ever held a lunge long enough that it starts to burn like your hamstring and your glute?
Everything, it shakes. My whole body starts shaking.
That is a neurological reset. It's your body not being able to communicate with the muscles efficient enough to stabilize it. That's joint instability, and that comes down to like mechanoreceptors and joint function, which is really, that's what I'm going back to. It's fascinating to me. Do I sit and inundate people with this stuff all the time? No. Because most people, they don't want to know that. They want to know, how do you make me better? The truth of it is, it's really difficult. It's not easy. And it is a long, arduous road for most people, because most people are busy all the time and they don't have the time to put in and sit there and hold these lunges and work at it day after day. And then it also becomes super expensive, because you need to do it 3 to 4 times a week.
Right. I mean, so an average therapist, and I'm going to consider that's what you are as a therapist.
Yeah.
And an average therapist is anywhere from, say, $80 to $250 an hour.
That's right.
I mean, most good ones are over $100 an hour.
My hourly rate is $200 an hour.
$200 an hour.
Yeah.
Got it. So, I mean, that's expensive.
Yeah.
If I was coming 3 days a week, I mean, that's $600 a week.
Talk about your mortgage.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's what it looks like. So the thing that I learned from big box franchises is the continuity model, right? My friend Sean Wells is actually one of the people that helped me with that. And the continuity model, I used to think was a bad thing, recurring revenue models. But what it does is it gives people a way to get into your business and to come in and receive the help that they need without being price gouged. Because I actually, even though my rate's $200 an hour, I don't feel comfortable charging that, not because I don't think I'm good enough, but I want to help these people. And if that's the obstacle that's in their way from them getting help, of course I'm going to work with them on it.
Right.
I don't mind.
So you have a program, if I'm correct,
Go ahead.
that you can do a monthly payment.
Oh, yeah.
And that gets you what?
It gets you a one service a month, and then it also gives you a discounted rate. Now, that is not with me. That is with all my other therapists. And I have really incredible therapists at the office. And the way that we do business is a little bit different, so I'm going to give out a trade secret. I don't do massive onboarding with my therapist, and I keep it very small. So I have anywhere from 5 to 8 therapists that are working a store. And we have a gentleman named Troy Gross that, you know Troy, his sole purpose in life for me is to go and train those therapists one-on-one in a mentorship program every week. That's what he does with each of our therapists to make sure that they're learning this way to do it. And I'm telling you, it makes a big difference in the therapist. And of course, we have people that are, new. And then we have people that are like, wow, they're getting their corrective exercise certifications and they're doing the things in this veridical setting. And I like that.
I mean, and so as a therapist, if I'm working with you and you give me an opportunity as a therapist, do they have room to grow with you?
Oh, absolutely. So we have it's something that I'm constantly working on. We start out at $25 an hour for the therapist. And then from that point up, if they hit certain milestones, and it's all depending on the rate of time at which they learn it, they get raises incrementally. But that's the minimal start point. And most places only start at about $18 to $20 an hour. So we're already starting them out higher, and we don't cap them quickly at all.
Right. So there is opportunity to grow.
Oh, yeah. And then store growth.
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, Troy, if he was ambitious and driven and wanted his own store but didn't have the capital and wanted to do it, and he would do it under your umbrella, and then you could probably partner in a new store or something.
That is the goal with everyone.
Right. So that's what I always say is anyone that works within the structure of the company, I don't think of people that work for me. They don't work for me. I look at, we all work for the same company.
That's right.
You're a partner.
We're a partner. I work for Sunstoppers. When I wake up in the morning, I wake up, I eat, sleep, and breathe, Sunstoppers. All the people that work within the company work for Sunstoppers. I'm just the coach of Sunstoppers. I'm the head coach, okay? But I still get my paycheck, and I still play the game under the brand Sunstoppers.
Yeah, I've seen you doing that.
For years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I do. And I coach in the world, basically saying, if you want an opportunity to grow with us, grow with Sunstoppers. And I always look at everybody that works within this company. We all have an opportunity. We all have a job. We all have a task. We all have something we need to do. But if you want more, there's opportunities to grow within the company. I don't ever like to limit people's income or opportunity. I want them to be able to go as far as they want. I'm just a financier. Then I become an investor.
That's right.
And taking your head and wrapping it around not being an owner of a business. Like I always say, well, I'm a small business owner. And I go, well, you're going to always think small then. Because the very first thing you said was small business owner. Mm-hmm. I tell everyone I meet I'm an investor. And I'm an investor in people.
You're independent. Another way around that is independent. I'm an independent business owner.
I'm an independent business owner. I'm an independent investor in people. So I look at people as the biggest return on your investment. I can go put money in a stock, and I have no emotional attachment to that stock. It's all based on performance. Like if that performance of the stock goes up, I'm happy. If it goes down, I'm probably going to sell it, take the money out, put it somewhere else. Unless I really believe in that stock long term, and I'm going to just let it ride. And I'll say, oh, you know what? Things go up, things go down. 10 years from now, I'll look back at it and I'll play the game, put $1,000 here and here and here. But I'd rather invest some money into the business that I already know, invest into the people that are already within the organization, and go invest in them into a future business. And then I know that I can coach that business. You're doing the same thing now. Explain to me like the future, like in the next 3 to 5 years, where you're going with that.
So I've had a goal for many years now, and I'm getting super close to it, is the ability to retire at 45. And I'm really close to it, and that looked like a very specific level of income. But then that goal marker changed, and when we talk about goalposts, you should always move the goalposts. How do you say that?
Once you kick the field goal and score the touchdown, you got to move the goalpost.
Right.
I mean, you got to constantly be moving. Is it 5 yards, 10 yards? But if you're constantly hitting the goal every time, you're not setting your goals far enough.
Correct.
I feel like you need weekly goals, you need monthly goals, you need yearly goals. Like people, to me, I feel set too big of a goal. Mm-hmm. They set too big of an expectation. And then all of a sudden, halfway through, it's like someone that wants to lose weight. Garrett, do you know anybody that you've said, oh, I just want to lose 10 pounds? Right.
Me.
Right. So what happens is people set a goal that 10 pounds is that's their target. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to set a goal for you today. This week, I'd like for you to lose 1 pound. Okay. Next week, I'd like for you to use 1 pound. The week after, like 1 pound. Then the week after, and in 10 weeks, you've lost 10 pounds. That is an obtainable goal. That is realistic. And I always say your brain needs to reprogram itself, like you just said, in training for therapy. You got to reprogram your brain that you need a little success. You need to see a little win. Like on this Monday morning when you go weigh yourself, you go, oh my God, I lost 1.5 pounds.
That's what spurs you on. That's exactly what it does.
It keeps you, oh, next week I'm going to try to do that again.
Right.
And one thing I always said is don't ever try anything, because trying gives you an out. No, trying gives you an out. Mm-hmm. How many times, Garrett, have you in your life, and be honest, somebody says, hey, we're having a party this weekend and we'd love to have you come over and all your friends, blah, blah, and you're going to go, you know what? I'm going to try.
I can say quite a few, but later in life, I finally said, you know what? I'm an adult. I can say I'm going to come or I'm not.
Right.
It's up to me.
Right.
I am 31. So my dad, when I was growing up, he goes, you know what? I'm only proud of you because you tried. And he meant it in a positive way. So there's a positive and a negative to trying. It does give you the out if you look for it. But if you say, you know what? I put myself out there. I gave it a shot. Cool. But that just needs to spur you on to go for the next.
I don't know what triggered in my personal, like, spiritual, emotional, physical thing, but like, I'm a head first kind of guy. I jump in and I'm either going to do it or I'm not.
Right.
And if I fail, I've never really taken failures like, oh no, I messed up. I'm like, well, damn, I learned this, and this. For example, and I can't remember if you were coming to the office at this time. It was before I had the gym in my office. So what I had ended up doing is I rented a unit in the other, you know how the complex looks? Mm-hmm. So on the other side of the building, I rented a space and started a full gym in there. I literally tried to give workouts away to people for free. I was like, just come in here. This is a supplement to what we do in here. This is a safe place for you to work out so that you don't go back out to the gym and mess yourself up. You're going to get great coaching and it's free. This is just part of what you get to do. It flopped. I dumped like $52,000 of my money and my wife Suyat's money and lost it. And you know, while most people were saying, oh my God, you lost $52,000. That's so much money to lose. I was like, yeah, but like how many people pay, I don't know, $50,000, $60,000 a year to go to, I don't know, Wake Forest for a semester or 2 semesters. And that's all, like, I got real life experience for that money of what not to do in a business and what in my demographic I should or should not do. Like that was money well spent. Did I recoup it? In certain ways. Yeah. Here.
Knowledge.
Yeah. And that to me, like, I just don't ever feel like I messed up so bad that I can't fix it. I can't move forward.
What I've learned in business is when I first was in the car aftermarket business, I was doing rims, I was doing tires, I was doing stereos, I was doing intakes, I was doing exhaust, I was doing graphics, I was doing tinting. You name it, lift kits, trucks, I was doing all that shit. I was doing everything. You wanted to come to me, I was fully customizing your ride.
Is this Lightning Mics?
Lightning Mics. And I was doing everything. I was Pimp Your Ride, Lightning Mics. This is before all that shit. And the Fast and Furious came out while I was Lightning Mics, and people were coming in buying like OBX mufflers.
Can I get some NOS?
I was selling NOS. I did. I sold it. I sold the bottles and all the shit. So, I mean, it was just crazy. We had this influx of different things. Well, I was ordering parts, waiting on parts, then doing the builds. Parts were coming, they'd be wrong. I'd be sending them back. I lost thousands and thousands of dollars. I just had merchandise that sat in there that we bought from distributors that came in that were wrong, that we had to reorder. And I was losing money on projects. And next thing you know, I'm looking around the showroom. I'm like, well, that were all paid for. And I had nobody to sell them to. So I'm sitting here with wasted money in my inventory. I finally got to a day and I said, the most profitable thing that we do is tint. It's in, it's out. People know what they want. They come in, they pick out the shade of tint. We tint the car. An hour later, they drive out, they pay us, they leave. And it's just repetitive. So I started scaling the business back and started focusing mostly on tint. And that's what I do now. I do sun stoppers, window tint. I don't need to explain to people what I do for a living. I put on stickers on a car. I mean, that's what I do. How dark do you want your sticker? Do you want it 10%, 20%, 30%? I will put it as dark as you want. And if you want your house tinted, we can tint your house. We can do roller shades. So sun stoppers in marketing is what I do. I stop the sun with our products. And so our brand, our name, all comes together. I feel that you with this project that you did, exploring, was like me at Lightning Mike's. You diversified because it was fun, it was exciting. You love to work out, I love to work out, but your clients just really wanted therapy. They don't want to become gym people and working out.
Do you know the biggest problem that had? And like I said, this is going to be hard for anyone listening to this to understand it, but you've seen the building. The problem is that it wasn't inside of the building, and that they had to leave the front door and walk down to the other unit. That was the biggest.
Really? You couldn't have cut a wall out.
Well,
you could have, but the way the design was.
No. Because it was in the whole other building. Like, you know that little alleyway that goes through? So it's a whole different building.
It was in the building next door.
Correct.
Got it.
And people just wouldn't come out of it and walk down. I had one lady, she told me, she said, Chris, if you take me on, I will do everything that you ask me to do because I just want to feel better. I said, okay. So one day it's raining and I'm working on her in the main room. And then I'm like, all right, time to get up. We're going to walk up. I'm not walking out there. It's raining. Like it's not even 75 feet. That's it. So like what I learned in this is, if you're building a business, everything has to be in the same place. You have to. And yes, if I were able to acquire a unit next door, I'd totally knock a wall out and you just walk right into it.
Got it.
The other thing of it is that people want easy. They want the pill. They want the app that they can go through instantly. And so the way that I've designed our programs and the way that we work, it is quick and it is easy. And it is like dealing with a small child. Not that they are small children, but you want a kid to be able to understand it. So because I do work with a lot of children. And it's their parents' motivation to get them in there, if that makes sense. And a lot of times the parents will talk for the children. And I'm like, no, listen, I want to hear what the kid has to say. Because I need to be able to understand what it is that they're looking for. And how many exercises can they do? How long are they going to be able to handle this? 30 minutes, an hour? 30 minutes is all I have when I'm working with a kid. And the same thing could be said as if I said, hey, Mike, for your hip, what I want you to do is I want you to do this lunge. And I want you to do these other 16 exercises with it. You're already checked out. But if I said
Give me
just
3.
Yeah.
Give me 3.
And I've got to refine down to like, once I've done my assessment with you, I can give you 1, and it's going to be extremely powerful for you to change what you need to change. And if you can commit to me, 3 minutes a day doing this, just start 3 minutes a day. That's it. In the morning when you wake up or right before you go to sleep. I don't want you to do it in the middle of the day. I want you to do it right. It's the first or the last thing you do. Just do it. It will change everything. So that's kind of how I look at it.
So what's next for you with your business?
All right. So because I think you had asked something earlier that I never really finished. Like, where do I want to be? So the goal marker changed. I'm going back a few minutes. Yeah. I wanted to retire at 45, but what I realized is I don't, and I never did want to retire. I just want the financial freedom to be able to invest and do other things. So for the next few years, I want to get my 3rd location open by next year, like 2024. I want that open, running, rocking and rolling. And then I want to get my 4th store open because I have a person working with me right now that wants to invest in it and become an owner themselves. So they've been working for me for about 2.5, 3 years. They love the brand and they want to buy one. So that means I would be opening 2 stores next year and helping her get that one set up.
That's awesome.
Then the next piece of that is we franchise the business. Like I said, it might be a little bit premature to franchise it, but like the vision is in 10 years, I want to have like 50, 60 stores.
Well, you got the first one.
Yeah.
And then you and I talked. And you went and opened the second one.
That was a big part for me. The biggest thing was I struggled with the connection of me doing this work and realizing, look, I have to do this work. And you had told me, you're like, hey, you need to separate that part and just look at it for what it is if you want to grow a business. You need to kind of not necessarily remove yourself, but you can't be too attached to it. So I detached from it. And when I detached from it, I opened a second store in Mint Hill. I think I was looking for the lease, signed the lease in November, opened the store in December.
I remember the day.
Turned a profit. Yeah, because I texted you. I was like, hey, I did it. I did what you told me to, finally. And it took me about a year and a half, 2 years of us talking because I was dealing with that. I like to call it maturational death. Like there's just things that you're going to have.
Emotion.
It is, but it's a death of something that you were. Like you have to understand.
There's no death.
Yes, there is. There absolutely is. I have been a therapist for years. And it's a big part of my life because having people come to me and say, hey, Can you do this? Can you do that? Like, I had to kill that part of myself off to move forward.
Yeah, that's true.
You had to evolve it. Don't go negative. You had to evolve it.
But to me, that's not negative. Like, I think everything in life has that cycle. And so, like, a phoenix, like, it's reborn into something much better. Right? And that's just how I look at it. So, like, I could say that I could evolve it. Yeah, I could evolve it. But I didn't. I needed it gone.
You grew.
Definitely grew.
You finally grew up.
Yeah.
And you said, listen here, I'm being stupid. I'm not a therapist. I'm now a business owner, and I'm now a guy that has a vision, and I'm now found a guy that pushed me off a fucking cliff.
Yes.
I found Mike Burke, and he fucking threw my ass off a damn cliff and said, start swimming.
Actually, what it was is not necessarily all of that. What it more was is that when I started this, I never in a million years thought that I would want to have this many therapists. I thought it was just going to be my wife and I working out of this building because it was pretty lucrative and it was good for us.
It's just you and her, y'all were chilling.
Yep, and it's easy.
Making money, go home, chill.
Yep, and it's easy peasy.
Running a business is hard.
Yes. So what you did, I think the part of you that helped me is I was like, what am I going to do when these don't work one day? That's
where I hit home with you.
Yeah. Like, what's going to happen when these don't work one day? Like, everyone's got to have a plan. So my plan is not going to work because one day, probably sooner than later, these just won't work. They're going to give out. Yeah. They're going to give out because there's a lot of pressure exerted through your hands. So that triggered over. And watching you grow Sunstoppers from the time I knew, because I think when I first met you, you had 8 to 12 stores. I can't remember.
Something like that.
And now you have how many?
70.
Yeah. That's legit. Why would I not take free advice from someone that's already been there? And the other thing that I really respected about the way you talk to me is that you're not coming from me from like some high-end corporate Wall Street guy. You actually own a service store. It's like I have people talk to me that are in real estate and they're like, well, you should do this, this, and this with your business. Well, it's real estate. Real estate's a little different than running a customer service-based store. It's just different. Sure, all business is the same. But that part of it's different. And you've done it, and it made sense to me when you delivered it. So, like, you resonate more with me than other people that own, like, factories in China, or they have,
I don't resonate with that many corporate people either.
Yeah.
Like, when they start to talk to me, and I'm like, bro, I'm just a fucking window tinner, man. Like,
do you want it light or dark?
But see, the thing is, mentally, I have a marketing degree. I have a finance background in accounting a little bit, and I've worked in the car dealership world. I've worked in a little bit of banking. I sold finance to dealerships, and I have a diverse amount of portfolio that I could have gone corporate. I could have been, I'm not fake. I'm a real fucking guy. I say what I want. I do what I want. I'm emotional. I speak from my heart. I'm a giving person. And that's why we're here today on Real Talk with Mike Burke, because this is fucking real.
So I got a question for you, Chris. Yeah. So, and Mike, I'm sure you can answer the same way. Sure. So you're at 2 stores, right?
Correct.
What is something now that you're going through as a some would say young franchisor, because you're starting to get into that. You want to get into where you can open more stores and coach and kind of take on how Mike has grown Sunstoppers. What's something now that you realize as you're becoming a franchisor that somebody should take advantage of now if they're looking to grow their business?
Marketing, truly understanding marketing, and it's always been. I mean, let's face it. I'm not a tech savvy guy at all. Like, I don't do that. I'm a therapist, and finding people that are tech savvy enough to understand your business, you need to make those relationships with those people. Like, yeah, I can grow my business my own self with just the relationships that I build in the community. But if you want to take it to a big area like you're talking about, you better have the right marketing team have your back. They have to have your back. And you have to trust them to do what it is. And there is a second part of that. You have to let yourself go. You need to get your ego out of the way and realize that you don't know everything, and it's okay. And everybody has help from someone, and it's okay to take that help. A lot of times back in the day, I was like, well, I got to do my website. I got to do my SEOs. I got to do my phone calls. I've got to do my booking. I've got to do everything.
And the biggest thing is you said I.
Yeah, I have to do it. So when did that leave time for me to actually grow a business? I should have been using my time to get people that were good to help me with that.
One thing my dad, to add to this, Garrett, is one thing my father was very good at growing up, embedding into my head. You do what you do best, pay for the rest. He told me that over and over and over. He thought I wasn't listening to him, but I was. It's do what you do best, pay for the rest. Why would I own a lawnmower? Why would I go buy gas? Why would I go crank the lawnmower? Why would I go and push the lawnmower for 2 hours on an acre of property and spend 2 hours of my time when I'm an accountant that makes $250 an hour? So for $500, for $25, I don't have to own a lawnmower, and I can pay somebody $25 once a week to come take care of my damn yard.
But you know the crazy part about that is, so I love this analogy because one of my really good friends that helped me design the vision of my business, she's a lawyer. Her name's Hillary. Super awesome lady. She lives in DC now. She said that same analogy to me. She's like, Chris, you mow your yard? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, how much an hour do you make? I told her. And she's like, why don't you just pay someone to do it? Now you don't have to have the lawnmower. Now you don't have to have the weed
gas or the mat or the
right. And I was, this is what happened for someone like me who didn't grow up with that idea, because my parents believe in doing all of it. You have to do everything, right? Because no one can do it better than you because it's yours. So I started thinking about it, and I started rationalizing, but I like mowing the yard. I like getting out there, and no. Yeah, if you truly enjoy yard work, cool. But like I don't. I was lying to myself. And once I started getting someone else to mow the yard, I just did another session and I made that much more money. Like, you have to let it go, and it's okay.
It is.
But most people can't just, they're not malleable. They can't let it go.
Awesome answer. Thank you, Chris.
I
think that's a really cool, because this is a really awesome opportunity to see someone who's grown a franchise and someone who's growing a franchise and see how that comes together.
I'm going to steal a tagline. I want to be like Mike. Like seriously, whenever I think about it, I tell you, and I know Mike likes me to stroke his ego, and I like to do it, but I only will
Who doesn't like their damn ego stroked?
It's true, but the thing is I'm not lying about this, and I don't have to think of it. Like, how cool, whether you're a jerk or whether you're a great guy, it doesn't matter. The numbers don't lie. You did something and you did it right, and you did it better than everyone else, and that's cool. Like, the proof is in the pudding. Yeah, like, so you're uber successful and you're a good person and you give to everybody. Like,
okay, enough of that. Enough of that.
But it's true. It's true.
Giving is where you get your reward. You give back every day, hour by hour. You're giving your hands, you're giving your knowledge, you're giving your power. And what I feel from you when you were working on me, and the only reason you don't work on me anymore is I travel so much. I'm all over the place, and it's hard as hell to get on your schedule. And we touch each other when we're at the bar underneath the table. We're fine. So the thing is, you're just such a wonderful person yourself that you are exhausting yourself emotionally because you're putting your soul, your energy, your thoughts into helping that person. You're transforming your energy and transforming it through your hands into another body to turn around and give them almost a jump start. Like you're the booster box, like you're the battery pack, and you're turning around and putting cables on that person to try to get some energy into that person so they can be electrified to leave in a better spirit than they were when they came in. That is fucking exhausting.
There's actually a term for that in our field. It's called transference countertransference. And the thought is it's almost like diffusion, where like, for example, if you've ever taken a hot bath and you're like, someone told you, hey, use these salts. Well, the process is that the bad stuff in your body comes out of the pores as they open as you sweat, and then you take in this good stuff, the good potassium, magnesium, etc., that the salts possess. That's the concept. But the same thing can be said as when I work on you. And a lot of people don't realize that for whatever reason, most MTs, massage therapists, or LMBTs, or body workers is what they use, there's a transference that occurs between us. We are used a lot of times as dumpsters because people trust us. So they come in, they get on the table, they become our friends. It's almost inevitable if you're a good therapist that you don't develop a good relationship with your client. So they start talking to you about like what's going on with their home, their spouse, their kids, like the sports and stuff. And that becomes highly difficult because actually it's unethical in ways with the state board to do that. You're supposed to keep it very professional. I just have always thought that it's difficult for someone to lay there for an hour and not say something to you, especially if you're doing really difficult work on them. Go ahead.
They're in a vulnerable position. I mean, if I'm face down on a table, I am trusting you.
That is an excellent point. I mean, like, okay, I don't want to go to a super dark side on this, but like realistically, I don't know what someone's had happen to them. So let's say that I have a person come in and I like, hey, go ahead and take your clothes off, or disrobe to your comfort level. You're going to go face down on the table. Well, that right there, like, I don't know if that person had any kind of sexual trauma history or whatever. So they are in a massive vulnerable position.
Mm-hmm.
They're face down. They can't see you. They don't know what you're doing. So like my sessions, I almost always start out with people, especially ladies. I'll start out with them face up so they can see me. And most of my sessions are done fully clothed. Like, I don't work with people. I would say 95% of the time they don't even take their clothes off. And the door can be open so that anyone could come in. It's a safe environment for people.
You know, unfortunately, the way the world is today, I'm sure years ago it was never like that. You get naked, come in, throw a towel, boom, you start oiling them up and rolling them down.
Yeah.
The way the culture is today, and sex, and the way women, even men, I mean, therapists, you know, got into this space. Maybe they're a creep. Maybe
doubt.
Maybe they're creepy people and they just want to touch people. And they're like, hey, I'm a physical therapist. I'm a massage therapist. I'm going to touch people's butts and, you know, feet. I don't know.
There used to be this dude that we worked with. And
not at Vertical, right? Let me just caveat this.
No, this is like 14, 15 years ago. And this was when I was a newer therapist. And he would do, when he turned the ladies over, and at the end of it, he would kiss them on the forehead. And I'm like, what are you doing? What? Like, I'm going to tell you right now, some dude kissed me on my forehead, some lady kissed me on my forehead, they're probably going to catch an elbow. No joke. Like, you don't do that.
If
It's
I'm
weird.
relaxed and chill and some girl wants to kiss me on my forehead, I'm like, ooh, cool.
Not in my place. Like maybe
It depends on how cute the guy was. I'm just kidding. I'm just playing.
Is that why I was okay that one time? But no,
I think
like,
you kissed my feet. I don't know. Yeah.
But see, for me, like, that, everything that you just said about the day and age that we live in,
Right.
that is what Veridical is for me. It's like,
You have to be careful.
I
Protect
want
yourself.
all of my therapists to be extremely safe. So I've tried to develop a way of treating people that they don't feel vulnerable, that they won't have those issues, and you'll never have that issue arise.
Can you smell? And I'm not saying this word is it actually smelling, but if you feel or smell the person that maybe is going to get a therapist that's looking for something other than just a
Absolutely.
you can smell them out, right? They're creepy.
Yeah. Okay. So real talk.
Can you see the creep in the creep?
Yeah.
So wait, was it Mike that stopped, or was it Chris that told Mike to stop?
I got kicked out.
So this is real talk with Mike Burke. So here you go. Here's real talk. For me, if a guy comes in and lays down on the table, we put a bolster under their feet, right? If they externally rotate their hips and let their legs go, they're looking for something else. That nonverbal right there is very strong. And I would say if any massage therapists are listening to this, look for that cue the next time you have a guy come in, because you'll know.
Do you start most of your patients, or I say patients, face down?
No.
You start them face up?
Me? No. Okay. Absolutely not. Because I want them to see what I'm doing.
If you're teaching now, because I know you do some teaching with your therapist.
A little bit, yeah.
And you go through a staging process. Like if I come in, you check in, you come in. When I get into the room and you walk in there with me, go through the step 1, step 2, step 3 process.
All right. So what brings you in today, Mike? What's going on?
You know, I'm just, my hip and my lower back's really tight. I'm not feeling very good.
Can you fill me in a little bit with that? Like, do you have
Old
any
sports injury? I was in a motorcycle wreck, had a back surgery. I feel like my legs just aren't functioning the way they should. My rotation of my hips are just not as good as I would like.
All right. What's your goal for today? Because I want you to understand that before we start this session, you could either have a nice relaxing massage, and I can do that. We can do some heavy pressure, light pressure, whatever it is that you want. Or we can actually be goal-oriented, and I can try to help you with the issue that you're having. Which one would you like?
You know, I'm looking for some more flexibility throughout the day to be more of a movement. So I'm looking to walk a little bit easier. So whatever we can do to maybe do a semi-stretch with a little bit of therapy to loosen up my hips so I can walk a little easier.
You got athletic shorts with you or boxer briefs on?
I do have boxer briefs.
Cool. If you'll just go ahead and disrobe to your comfort level, you can take your shirt off if you'd like to, but just go ahead and get on top of the sheets here. I'm going to work with you, and I'll be right back. I'll step outside of the room, come back in, make sure that you're good and ready to go, and then we'll go through that. I'll probably flush out the legs a little bit just to get everything, I would say, warmed up is what we're taught in school.
I like the word flushed out.
Yeah. You're pushing in a centripetal motion to increase blood flow to the heart. You're like, this is your goal. for that movement.
To increase blood flow.
Yeah.
Explain that to me.
So when you increase blood flow, you're increasing blood pressure. And what that's going to do is your heart is going to pump obviously harder, and it's going to make other organs work more efficiently at ridding your body of toxicity. So we talk a lot about people are doing ionizing foot baths or these detoxes or whatnot. Like really, you have kidneys, you have a heart, you have lungs, you have a liver, and your skin. Those are what actually rid your body of toxicity. So if I elevate your heart rate, which creates a thermogenic effect in your body, it's actually going to make everything work harder to expel toxicity. This is where like people are like, you need to drink plenty of water after you have your massage because you're going to be dumping a lot of toxins.
Is that true?
I mean, obviously water helps expedite things. You want to pee it out. That's actually what you're looking for. People think the water does something, but like a lot of our water's kind of dead anyway, meaning like it's lacking minerals, nutrients, because it's getting run through so many different processes. But what you're actually after is the excretion. You want to sweat more. You want to pee. You want to go to the bathroom. That's what you want to do, and that's how you get rid of the toxicity.
You ever done a detox?
I have not, but I have sat through many with my mother, many of which I did not want to be there.
Yeah, it's rough.
On us, yes, it was.
What's a detox? Like, I've never done a detox.
Listen, man, I don't do that stuff.
I'm just trying to figure out, like, Michael, you ever done a detox? No.
So
a lot of times people do like, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. What she would do is she would do water, lemon, cayenne, and a little bit of either maple or honey. And that would be the 3 meals she would have for 5 days.
Cayenne helps with thermogenic effect.
Mm-hmm.
So it elevates
increasing the heat.
That's right.
Yep.
And that's a big part. If you want a really good detox, no joke, cold plunge. I'm not here to promote.
I love cold plunge.
Cold plunges.
I love them.
What they
I
do.
did cold baths. I did the what are they called? The freeze box thing.
Yeah,
I do those. I love that.
So the thing is what ends up happening in a cold plunge, which is going to sound really counterproductive, but like you lower your body temperature, right? But that forces your heart to pump harder, which actually increases the thermogenic response, and it helps with brown fat. Like, so this is how that kind of works. And so you start and you end up detoxing more in a natural state. So like seriously, if you want to shed pound for pound, cold plunges.
Love it.
Yeah.
You gonna buy a bucket?
And by the way, I don't have a cold plunge at the office. I don't do that stuff, but this is just something that I would know. And this is also one of the differences between our therapists and a lot of other therapists. They don't go into that. Most therapists in this field, they're going to be looking at Reiki, hot stones, face massages, esthetician work, or like wraps. I want to know what's going to make you feel better.
That's the pretty stuff.
Yeah, I don't want
the pretty. No, you want the thing that's actually going to benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So to follow up on this, what is something you've seen in your, I'll call it sector, that you believe is to be snake oil? Something that is touted.
How much
now,
time you got, buddy?
This is your opinion. Now, this is the one thing that you're like, you have seen people do it and there's been no added benefit.
Oh man. I mean, seriously, how much time do you got?
A minute.
All right, I'm going to give you just one thing in my field. I hate when a therapist says, "Oh man, that's a knot. We got to work that out." It's a load of horse crap.
Really?
Yes.
I get told that a lot.
I get told that a lot too.
Yeah, you don't have knots. The muscle spindle doesn't detach, magically wrap itself around. What you get is muscular densification. So what that is like your connective tissues basically shorten into a position and it feels like a nodule, but it is not a knot. And the goal is to break the fibers up between it. Like think about it like a roll of spaghetti. If they're glued together really hard, your goal is to push it apart in one area and that will increase the length of it. But the problem is massage therapy, there's a big debate on this, and I could get flailed for this one. I don't know if there's so much added benefit to working through those trigger points as much as it is let me push on it while you make a movement to create more range in the joint, because you need the feedback from the joint to accompany the muscle tissue itself. There's a lot of people that would get upset with that statement and argue it.
A lot of the treatments that I've had are push-pull.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel I get a lot of resistance, like when I hold and then I get to a position where I cannot move any further, and then they push and then I push, and then 5 seconds later he lets go, or whoever lets go, and then I can get the range of motion.
This is called active isolated stretching. And so basically, and it's also, Eric Dalton does something like this. It's active resistance. So basically, like if I want more shoulder external rotation, I'd get you to this, like if you're stuck here, just like you said, that's the in range. You're going to push into it and then it'll open and it'll open. What you're actually doing is not lengthening the muscle tissue by the motion. You're actually talking to the joints. So you have different types of joints, like Pacinian corpuscles, Mesmer corpuscles, Ruffini endings, and they all do something different, and they dictate how your body accelerates and decelerates through motion. So when you do this resistance, it goes back to that neurological piece of this that allows it to open as you hold it and you resist, and then it relaxes it, and you hold it and resist. No massage needed for that.
I think that works very well.
It does work very well. A lot of these things do work well, but the snake oil part of it is the verbiage that people use because they don't have a deeper understanding. Once you get that deeper understanding, it should help.
So understand this. You get out of massage therapy school.
Mm-hmm.
You go straight to Massage Heights, and you stay at Massage Heights. There's no growth.
Nah.
So what happened is you went out on your own, started doing therapy, listening to your clients, understanding the processes of what you're doing. You went for more continual education. You went to Dallas, and then after you went to Dallas, you became, what was there you did there?
That's orthokinetic licensure.
Okay, orthokinetic license, which is
That's
an
right.
additional license to your neuromuscular license.
That's right.
So you've now branched into, now you have a master's degree. Most people do not do that.
That's right.
So the reason you're so knowledgeable and the reason you're so more experienced is because you went out on your own.
You have to.
And you turned around and grew yourself.
But the interesting part about that, which I did not say, I would have never went out on my own. I had a really nasty motorcycle wreck. I can't remember what year it was, maybe 2013, 14. And I was doing a wheelie about 100 miles an hour, and I flipped it end over end. And when that happened, another cascading effects happened because I was in intensive care for about a week. And then I walked out of it pretty much unscathed with the exception of broken ribs and all kinds of other stuff. But it triggered something in my head that was like, I'm never going to get anywhere, and I'm never going to leave my family anything if I work at this place the rest of my life. Because it's impossible, because there's no room for growth. You cap out. I believe I made $15 an hour working at that job.
Yeah.
After all that school.
Right.
$15 an hour.
And your wife, where'd you meet her?
I usually tell people I ordered her on RussianBride.com.
That's what I thought.
I actually had a dude.
She is Russian?
Yeah, she is.
I mean,
Absolutely.
she's beautiful.
She is literally like the most beautiful woman that I know. Yeah. Sveta.
Sveta.
It's short for Svetlana.
Svetlana.
And Sveta means light. So like
Yeah.
if you say Svetofor, I think that means like stoplight.
Yeah.
Right? So I will call her that sometimes. But what's interesting about Sveta is that everyone messes her name up. They'll call her Samantha, Solara. One lady, this older lady, used to call her Fiesta. I was like, yes, a Mexican party. It's so good.
That's plastic.
So I met her, I think it was 18 and 19 years old. And we were working down off of Matthews Mint Hill Road at a place called PCA International. And PCA was a film development company for Walmart.
I know exactly.
So I was doing seasonal work, cutting cars. And I just remember seeing her. And I was like, whoa, she's hot. And anyway, I stalked her for a while.
Stalk.
Yeah, but not in a bad way. Just like it's more like I call it reconnaissance. And we have been married 22 years. Has it been easy? No. Has it been great? Absolutely. Would I do it again? Yeah. She's cool, man. Like, seriously, I don't have in my head a better partner than that person.
She's awesome, man. She's wonderful.
Like, I would not be here today if it were not for her. And I believe that. The crazy part is like, I didn't have a ring either. And actually, I proposed to my wife at Carolina Lanes in the parking lot in between breaks. Dead serious. Like, so was none of this like really romantic stuff that people want, or these like, and nor did we have like a $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 wedding. No, my wife paid for her own wedding dress, and the whole wedding was under $3,000. And here we are, like I said, 22. Yeah, 22 years later, we didn't do all that stuff.
Those are the relationships that tend to stick.
Yeah.
Those are so I was in jewelry for a long time. I sold engagement rings. And the guys that were doing everything they could, and she was just so appreciative. I said, that's the one that's going to stick. The ones that came in and were so picky and were so wanting to make sure that everything was perfect were the ones that I was like, I just don't see it.
I'll tell you something funny about that is and my mom would have to verify this, but I always said from a young age, I will never marry an American girl, ever, ever. Too much entitlement. And my wife literally came from nothing. And that I appreciate because she will never ask for more than, like, she doesn't ask for anything. She just does it. Like, she's a hard worker. The girl stood in bread lines in communist Russia back in the 80s.
That's
like,
amazing.
are you kidding me?
You don't realize. See, that's the thing you don't realize is how spoiled the U.S. is.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And not only that, but like, this is a funny story, but like, she would tell me, she's like, we didn't have toilet paper. You don't go to the store and get toilet paper. You take the old newspapers and you sit there and you have a rolling party with your people to make it. And the bathroom's outside and the kitchen's outside. Like, they came from nothing. And when they came over here, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they had less than like $10,000 to their name. So, which is I just think that's really fantastic that they were able to grow that. And the best part for me about this business building was the realization that her dad had when he realized how successful his daughter is, and never expected it because it is a male-dominated society over there, right? Like woman outside, man, or woman inside, man outside. Women don't even really get too many licenses from the area that they were. Like, so to watch that growth in her and her to be successful, like, it's been really cool.
That's awesome, man. What a great story. Chris, I want to wrap it up. I want to say thanks for coming to today and seeing me at Real Talk with Mike Burke.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Chris. Garrett, thanks for coming on the show. Garrett's going to be the new
Thanks
addition.
for having me.
You're amazing. I love the input. I love the questions. Micah, as usual, you the man. We're going to wrap it up today. Everybody have a great day. This is Mike Burke signing off. Later.